grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. We are back and better than ever. My name is Bradley Ball, and it is so good to have you with us. On Tuesday, we had Jess Schultz on the Azure Data and Tools and Experience PG. We talked about how you can sign up to be part of a focus group to determine the future of the Azure SQL DB query editor. You can sign up at aka.ms SQL DB QE forms. And we discussed interview tips and hacks. Neeraj hosted. Guest hopefully won. And Josh has the hosting duties for Tuesday.
Thank you, Hope.
What? Oh. If you haven't seen that episode, don't worry. Stay right there. The show is posted to YouTube after the live stream, and you can check it out at your convenience. And if you want to interact with the show, we are streaming out of the Twitter accounts of @TF Field, Tales from the Field, at SQL Balls, at Neeraj Jafari, at Josh Ludeman, also streaming on my LinkedIn account at SQL Balls. So head over, tweet or comment on the stream, or you can go over to YouTube and comment on our live stream there. In which case, one of my wonderful co-hosts will see your comment and may add it to the show. Don't forget, tomorrow in Tampa Bay, it is DevOps Days. I'm presenting at 1:20 p.m. Soft skills eat tech skills for breakfast. Come by and check us out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as if it couldn't get any better than that, let's talk about my co-host and introduce them. Andreas Padilla, who is seductively peeling a banana right now. Josh Ludeman.
I can't beat that. I got off a red eye. I can't
You
beat
said breakfast.
I'm
having my breakfast now. I'm just having my breakfast. So.
Looks like you're having something.
Little
and the man who is 8 feet tall and shoots pure genius out of his arse, my friend and yours, Neeraj Jafari.
That's an intro. That is an intro.
Man.
I appreciate. Yeah.
Best
So Andreas,
so far.
Josh brought in a ringer on Tuesday. To be fair, yesterday was his birthday. Do we give him a pass or unmitigated hell?
Oh, happy birthday, Josh.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Wow.
With all the excitement it deserves.
All that heart, all that feeling, I felt it right here. Right here.
He didn't say it like a man with his hand on a banana a second ago.
No. I thought that was for me. I don't know.
That your breakfast, or are you just happy to see me?
He's happy to be here.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Today is the Thursday Community Roundtable show. I guess we can dive straight into this and get going. First up, let's see. Let me get this situated. All right. Josh, you're up first with restore or copy an Azure SQL database with resource tags.
Oh, I'm up first. Okay. So, yeah, this is a great blog post, actually, from the Azure Database Support team. And it's really talks to, it's a very important, understanding of how to do this and restore your database with resource tags. Because if you have a good governance strategy, which is like one of those tier 0 foundational things you need to do when you move your organization to Azure, part of a lot of your governance is going to revolve around tagging resources, tagging them back to maybe applications or billing areas and things like that. And as part of your good governance strategy, you should have policies that require these tags. The problem is Azure SQL, it's the SQL engine. SQL engine's kind of divorced from the Azure portal. So what this walks you through is how you can do the restore utilizing the SQL engine, but also the tools to be able to, using the Azure CLI and things, to be able to restore the database, but also put the tags that that you should be required to have. And I'm going to point, yes, I'm going to get on a soapbox, but you should have, those tags you should have, put the restore and the tagging back together so that everything's, meeting the proper policies. So just a good tip.
Absolutely. And a wonderful job by Hugo Cazala Martin. And again, that fantastic team of the SQL database escalation engineers. We absolutely love them.
Yep.
They consistently and constantly produce great content. I was over there on their blog, and I think they produced 7 different blogs this week. All fantastic stuff.
Yep.
Let's see. So up next, I believe it's me. Yes. I've got, let's see, Azure Networking, identifying NSGs without NSG flow logs and traffic configured with Azure Monitoring Network Insights. This is another great blog by Wim Matheson. We featured his blogs before. He is a great and prolific blogger. Very, very wise. And one of the things this does is if you do not currently have NSG and NSG flow logs set up, but you're trying to figure out what is your traffic patterns and what do your traffic analytics look like. There are ways to be able to do this in Azure Monitor with networking insights. And he steps through this process for you. And if you are an administrator of any way, shape, or form, and you've got virtual machines sitting out there, which there's a lot of different services that use virtual machines and can use virtual machines, you should understand the different traffic patterns and flow that you have going in and out of your network. And this is a great way to be able to do it. Not your typical data blog, but let's face it, all data, all information is good stuff. And I think that kind of fits into the realm of what we need to understand and be able to look at. All right, so let's see. Next up, we've got Neeraj interviewing as a or interviewing. Ask a manager. All your interview questions answered by Allison Green.
Yep.
So I'm sticking to the theme of this week. I mean, the topic that I brought it up this Tuesday, right? I mean, the market's really getting crazy. People are looking for jobs. One thing is different from the previous time is now everybody can work from home. So you don't have to there were times where if you are in New York, if you are in Florida, you stick to that jobs in that surroundings, you go there. So now it's really getting tougher and tougher because everybody can apply from any part of the US and you get a job. So this is a nice blog. I mean, there are interviewing, and interviewing is stressful. Right? When you're going through interviews, it is stressful, and that's where the number of questions that Alison has really come out with answering this blog, trying to explain how you can get through your interviews, how you can successfully land a job, what are the things and tips that you need to really look at it while you're giving an interview. So something that, and as Hope and a couple of people said, be honest, right? In the interviews, she has a whole blog on said if you're being dishonest on your interviews, people just reject you up there because of that. So something to do while you're going through it.
And I love what you said there. There's a lot of fear when it comes to interviewing, right? It's not an easy process. What about you guys? Andreas, I don't know about you, but every time I think about interviewing, my palms get sweaty.
I get sweaty palms also.
Oh, got the sweaty.
I was just thinking of the
I could hear it. You're talking about my cousin Sweaty Balls.
Yeah, because Sweaty Productions from the SNL skit. That's what I was thinking of.
Wow. Here we are.
So, yeah, it's Thursday. We're almost to Friday.
Exactly.
Come on, weekend. There we go. All right. So, Andreas, you have, and I love this. I'm not going to lie. I actually had this popped open on my phone. I thought about putting this in as one of my selections earlier in the week. So when you saw this, I was like, what a great grab. You have Demystifying Data Explorer by Giles Lahart.
Oh, this is such a beautiful article, and it is very timely, especially for a scenario that I'm working with a customer right now that's doing some manufacturing stuff with IoT, and they're looking heavily into Data Explorer. Data Explorer is one of those heavyweight services that people just need to pay more attention to. This has so much great stuff under the hood. Time series analytics, the ability to ingest data in real time, do anomaly detection, maintain petabytes of data in cache. If you are working with data that has to do with that's movement, that you need to stream in, that you have limited time to get analytics out of, ADX is where you should be looking at. There are a couple of things that you should know. It's an append-only, model, so there's no updates. But data that's moving in relatively high speed, you don't have time to do updates. You want to find in that window, that tumbling window, hey, what's going on at that moment in time? What this article does is it paints a better picture of what we have. A great article in our Microsoft documentation of why you should be using, when to use Data Explorer. He does a better job of explaining what's under the hood and when you should use it. So in layman terms, you're like, oh, wow, the light bulb goes off. I should be using it for time series analysis, data that's in movement, data, a ton of data. This is where you go to. And it can be very cost effective if you treat it right. It's not going to be, it won't hurt your pocket. That's one of the misconceptions of Data Explorer. Oh, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. No, you can turn it off. You can turn it on. You can reduce the amount of data that you cache. You can purge the data so you reduce your costs. There's plenty of tricks up your sleeve to make this a must-have tool set up, on your day-to-day basis.
Yeah, the number of nodes that you can spin up for this as well, and the capability to be able to take that data and almost as a data set, like you could in Spark or Python, you can rewrite that data out, read it in. I mean, the fact that you can't update it, okay, but we could still form the new data sets that we need to be able to pull this out incredibly quickly. The scale of this is incredible. I think this is one of those things that is going to really help people understand when they should be using this. And I view this as a tool where often I'll hear people go, oh, how do I do this? How do I do this? And they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And I'll go, have you considered Data Explorer? Because for what you're trying to do, especially streaming data, being able to report off of it, being able to get it in, or being able to change the format that data is stored in, reading it in JSON and saying, long-term, I want to have it over in Parquet so that we can ingest it maybe via a serverless pool and report on it in Power BI. All those capabilities are there. I mean, it's a fantastic tool.
Oh, you just opened the door to a couple more things that I want to say. Formats that it supports: Avro, CSV, JSON, Parquet, PSV. I mean, the list goes on and on. Don't forget about Synapse Data Explorer. The same technology that you get on the standalone, ADX is the standalone product. But I get the same thing under the hood in Synapse. I can bring up ADX clusters in Synapse and live within that world. So it's a beautiful, I'm so happy that the Synapse team, incorporated ADX clusters in that workload, because a lot of companies have data that's in movement, and I want to be able to have at a moment's notice, bring up a cluster in Synapse and work with it. Not have to bring, you can bring up the other service, but it's nice to have it right there, within a flick of a button. And then there's one more thing that I wanted to mention. Ingestion, streaming ingestion, easily done. Batch ingestion, easily done. We hook into Event Hub, IoT Hub, Event Grid, blob storage, all at once. So
wait a second. Somebody's trying to give Synapse the hosting capabilities next week. Silly Neeraj, it's a product. It can't host the show yet.
Okay, I'll stop there. Neeraj, it's your turn.
Josh Ludeman said, Josh will be a great host. I can't wait. I can only work out. Oh, that's all right. So let's see. Next up, who do we have? I lost my place for a second. We got Josh again. Our hostess with the most.
What? You got me again? I'm going in the order. Okay. All right. So let's go with this one.
Yeah. You cannot be a host. You cannot be a host.
Brad and I are following different orders here. That's all.
So am I.
We are. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. So this is actually a really good blog post. Too many plans for the same query hash. So again, the theme I stick with a lot with the blog posts is cloud and doing it right. When you move your on-premises workloads to SQL Server in the cloud, performance is key on-prem, but I think we've all been in environments where we were guilty of, we try and figure out performance in tweaking and configurations as much as we could until we finally were ready to pull our hair out, and then we just asked the boss for more money to throw more resources into the box. In the cloud, we don't have that capability. So performance tuning and things like that become even more important. This actually walks through why it's a bad idea for having, too many query plans for the same query. Talks through why you want to why do you want to clean that up, and things like that. It's a really great post. Actually references. It's, I kind of like to throw in these buy one, get one deals every once in a while, so to speak, with the blog posts. It actually links over to Brent Ozar in a post that he did as well, and talks about, plan, the whole query hash and too many plans problem as well.
Well,
So,
and it's a super detailed guide into this problem as well, which I absolutely love, and it provides queries to be able to find this, and that's the really interesting thing, right? If we get multiple compilations of multiple plans in SQL Server, and the text is the same, we're going to end up with that same query hash, and that query hash, when the system tables are trying to find something to be able to look at and be able to resolve the different paths and the identifiers, there's so many different things that can get confused about this. Where the system could cause us to have different issues. I love it that it walks through each of those individually.
oh yeah,
And how it gives examples of, hey, you may run into this situation, you may run into this situation. So not only does it say, hey, here's the problem, it helps you understand, here's what some of the solutions are, here's the breakdown, because the key thing we want to do is get the right plan. We see this in the query data store a lot, right? We see those multiple different query plans be produced because the statistics were different, or because there was a plan change in some way, shape, or form, and we see better performance, worse performance, and we might even force a particular plan to be able to go and be in place. And so this is kind of helping us understand. We haven't gotten to that level, but we've got multiple of those execution plans running around in memory. Exactly what the problems and the solution areas are that we might be facing. Wonderful blog. Absolutely love this. So let's see. Josh, I believe I understand what our disconnect is, because I've got two places where the links are stored, and the one I use is not the one you're using. You're using probably where we put in all of our links.
Where we all have access to it, not your private stash.
Well, you should have access to everything. I share the final as we're going through it, and this is the order that I actually put things on the YouTube show. So
I know I have a 35-inch widescreen monitor, but I don't have room for 7 different things.
So I'm gonna give you a hint. I'm up next, and so
You're
that
up
way,
next. Yeah, and because you're on this wonderful blog here, that if we go ahead, yes, that one.
There we go.
Announcing new VM sizes, but as our friend Pam from the SQL PG says, isn't this sprinkles?
This is not just sprinkles. This is double sprinkles.
Oh, go for it, man! I want to hear.
We might be approaching triple sprinkles. This is by a great PM, Priya Shah, who is on that virtual machine team, and she's announcing that the EBSV5, that wasn't easy for me to say, let me try it again, the EBSV5 VM series offering now has 2 times the remote storage performance with NVE public preview. So we've got this new public preview. We've got additional remote storage offerings for this. This is also our VM that has the highest level of IOPS that you can provision. So when we think about those very, very heavy SQL Server workloads, and that's often where I'm looking and where I'm focused, and you can see right in there that we've got some IOPS listed. Specifically, this is the VM we're looking at. Now, we actually have a video that I put on Tales for the Field. I really haven't done any publicizing on this, but this is a separate technical video that will be part of our MS Tech Bits series that we do as we all produce content. And I walk through how you can actually stripe disks within storage spaces to be able to leverage the maximum level of performance, because on a VM, you have to keep in mind, most people look at the CPU and the memory and they go, oh, I want this much CPU, this much memory, but there's 3 things you're provisioning. And that third thing is the IOPS. Each VM SKU has a specific amount of IOPS. This series of VM has the highest level of IOPS that we've come up with yet within Azure. They're absolutely fantastic. I am looking forward to throwing SQL 2022 on there maybe sometime next month, and running Hammer DB against that so we can look at what these new totals will be. But I expect that we're going to see some really fantastic gains with this. But this is a wonderful announcement. And if you are using SQL Server on VMs, or if you're looking at migrating to Azure and you're going, hey, I have heavy workloads, I have, Flash SSD, I have a business SAN where we've got, stripes across these physical disks and we've got a good level of performance. If I want that level of performance on Azure, these are the VMs I need to be utilizing.
So when you're painting these stripes, what color are they and what type of spray paint do you use?
I'd say maybe they're purple and red. I don't
Gloss, semi-gloss, or matte?
Sure, why not? Semi-gloss. Let's go with. I believe Neeraj is up next. That's what I'm gonna say. With another blog, and we'll get to what I paint my stripes later. I mean,
it's going to go and check the colors out.
So Neeraj, tell us about this one, buddy.
So same theme. This is by Baron Clark. He's a recruiter, and he shows us how some of the steps how to go through the interview process, right? I mean, there are key mistakes is that everybody makes during the interviews just because of the fear, you don't know, or something like that. And he's trying to help you out how to avoid all these mistakes during these blocks. I mean, what you need to be asking the questions, what you should be listening to it, what are the things in there, something that is very interesting for them to go into it.
Very, very nice. I again, I love how how you laser focused on this. And shame on the rest of us. We should have thought of that a little bit more when we were logging our links for the week. But this is a really great thing that people need to understand. When back before Microsoft, I used to work at a company called Pragmatic Works. We had a thing that we used to do very similar to what we're trying to do with the Power Up program here at Microsoft, where we would help people. Now, we went more in depth, and we would actually bring people in. We would do a week-long BI course, and then we would put them through interviews, and we would make sure they understood, here's the appropriate attire to wear to an interview. Here's not the appropriate attire. This is what your resume needs to look like, and this is how we help them shape this. We would give them interview advice and guidance. Maybe tell this story. Maybe don't tell this one. Or here's a good place for you to, find a different way to input. This is great and wonderful advice, and I love it because understanding the steps in an interview process, for those of us who have been in the job for a very long time or have interviewed with multiple companies and worked there, it's easy for us to forget. But there's a lot of people where they have not done this before, and these are key things that they need to know about.
I mean, resume, LinkedIn is a couple of things that you definitely, people are looking at it, right? I mean, that's something that you should maintain it out properly.
Well, with the economy the way it is, there's a lot of people who, unfortunately, things are happening that they're coming back into, that path of interviewing for the first time in years, so many years that they might as well be their first time interviewing, because the world changes and evolves so much.
Absolutely. So
who are we going to next, Brad?
Yes, Bradley.
well, Josh, I believe that we're going to Andreas. Andreas, why don't you tell us about this?
Yes. Let's talk a little bit Raspberry Pi SQL Edge. Actually, the topic is more SQL Edge, but
where's your rubber band? You gotta smack yourself for the sequel.
Sequel.
Brad, there we go, buddy.
Brad is on me because I say SQL, and I'm not an acronym hound. I'm actually pretty bad at acronyms, so I stick with just spelling it out. But I will say SQL because Brad,
God bless you. Thank you.
He won't get me my Christmas present, so I want to make sure I get a present this year.
And it's a nice bottle of whiskey.
It's true. Anyway, this video is by Hassan Sabran. It's a great video of how to load SQL Edge on a Raspberry Pi. And why would we want to do this? We would want to do this. There's plenty of scenarios out there where you have disconnected sensors, disconnected devices. Maybe you have bandwidth constraints. Maybe you have, you don't have a connection, and you want to do some analysis out on the device itself. And what better tool to use than a database? Some people are like, you know what? I don't want to do it in Python. I don't want to do that analysis with a model. I want to do it with SQL. Beautiful. So this gives us the ability to load a database on a device, a Raspberry Pi, a Percept, an NVIDIA device, and do all of that on the edge. Streaming data. I can load function apps into this. I can do time series analysis. I can do windowing, aggregations. I can do anomaly detection, built-in functions that do anomaly detection with SQL Edge. I can load DAC packs I can develop all locally, take my DAC pack, throw it up on the device itself. SQL Edge server on the device will pick it up. It's a beautiful tool to be using for disconnected hybrid scenarios. Check it out.
Very nice. Very nice. I don't have anything to add other than the waffling back and forth. Maybe it's a bottle of gin now and not a bottle of whiskey. I don't know. So Josh, on my list, and we'll see if we're matched up here. I've got you up next.
So you've got this one here where I'm showing Sabrina K's blog on Azure AD Connect. And what to know about in-place upgrading Azure AD Connect from 1 to 2. So the problem with this whole, upgrading from version 1 to version 2, if you have an older AD Connect running version 1, you can't do a simple in-place upgrade. So what this Sabrina actually does in here is actually walk you through, how to do it without using an in-place upgrade. So basically rip out and reinstall. It's a great blog, including references to documentation and everything else. Again, going to the cloud, this is one of those tier 0 foundational things, getting authentication and authorization to work. So, kind of sticking with that theme this week.
Yep.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, and Sabrina is another great MVP that we have. She's an MVP, I believe, for Azure security. So many great people contributing to the community. Absolutely fantastic work by her. So, Josh, if we're aligned, I think I'm up next. Yeah, and I have Edwin Sarmiento and his blog that he put together for, and it's more of a guide. If you're going to the PASS Summit, in the past, this used to be the largest data conference internationally in the world for SQL Server. Again, so many changes since COVID. We'll see how this goes. But if you're coming there, or if you're coming to see us at Live 360, this could also be a very helpful guide for a large extent, because this walks through, if you're an international traveler, because Edwin is an international traveler, it walks through, getting your visa, things that you have to have with you, checking, getting your flight, making sure your accommodations are in place. And if you're in Seattle specifically, it talks about different things that are out there. One of the things to look for, I'm curious to see if this will happen again, but it used to be that we would make a lot of recommendations as PASS gets closer, and they used to run a program called First Timers. I don't believe that's going to happen this year, but there used to be a lot of recommendations. I don't know if he has this in there, but the recommendations I would give people is bring a power strip. You're going to be traveling, you go through an airport, you're going to need to get power. There's plenty of places to plug one into a wall, and you make all kinds of friends when you've got the power strip. Also, there's no guarantee that there's a power strip nearby where you're sitting in a conference room, but there's going to be a slot in the wall. You could go plug one in. Again, you make a lot of friends real quick. There's a lot of handy little tips and tricks to understand if you're going to Seattle. Lowe's down on the pier, you want to go, you want to get that breakfast, and you want to self-serve. You don't want to sit on the second floor. You want to go up to the third, get a seat by the window. Absolutely beautiful views, the bay. It's right in the Pike Market. There's so many wonderful things to see at the Pike Market. You're going to want to make sure that you reserve some time to go down there and just go around, and breweries and tons of places to eat, and fresh donuts that they make down there. Oh, it's so fantastic.
Lowe's breakfast with the fog on the water, sitting there sipping coffee while you're waiting for your food.
Yeah.
And you forgot dumplings.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's
Oh, yeah.
almost as beautiful, because Brad mentioned it, as the wonderful Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort, where we'll be speaking at Live 360. Sorry. It was a segue that I couldn't. It was a weird place to throw it in, but the segue was there.
Well, listen,
random.
and there's nothing that they have over there that we don't have here, because I got to tell you right now, when it comes to breakfast, we've got Hash House A Go Go and the bacon.
Hold
We've
on.
got Voodoo Donuts.
I was just going to say, you said donuts.
Bacon.
We got Voodoo, and Voodoo puts bacon on one of the donuts.
Yeah,
Mike,
can't beat it.
drop. Right there
Yeah.
you go.
As a matter of fact, my hope is next year that all four of us are going to be there, because, gentlemen, you're going to have a good time. You can't help but not. You'll understand why we keep going on and on about this place. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, again, if we are aligned, Josh, I believe up next we have Neeraj. And
We are
let's see.
aligned.
Boom. All right. Neeraj,
All right,
what do you got for us, buddy?
Interview tips and tricks, same thing, but by Alison Doyle. She is going through. She's a founder of careertoolbuild.com, and she goes over how to every step of your career. She explains you how to go from one level to another, what you're planning, what you should be going in. She even teaches how to practice your interviews. That is something that was eye-opening for me. Behavioral type of interview, because that is the one thing that a lot of companies are looking right now. And body languages, how people note your body languages, and you take notes while you're being. So something that she really brings it up while you are going for an interview. Something that you should also practice it out, right? You just don't have to go to an interview. You need to be prepared for it to go up.
Yeah.
Same way as you go for SQL Pass, right? SQL Pass Summit, and you need to be prepared for the interview also.
Well, and I wish I had thought of this when we were doing the interview tips and tricks. But one of the things I would say is that failure is also a great learning thing. I remember there was a point in time when I was interviewing for DBA roles, and I would get questions I didn't know the answer to. And I would come back and I would ask the DBAs I worked with, and 90% of the time they didn't know either. And I'd sit there and I would study them. And that caused me to learn so many great and new things that I could implement in my job. But I remember one of the interviews I talked where I got a job offer. Specifically, I knew every question that they had asked because I had been asked those other questions. I had studied them. I knew the ins and outs and all of that. So one thing I would say is, as a tip as well, is if you go for a technical interview and you get asked a question and you don't know the answer, write it down, study it, learn it. You may hit it again, and it may be something that actually helps you with your job and allows you to get better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last, but certainly not least, in our hearts and in our minds, we have Andreas. Andreas, tell us about this one.
Oh, great article by a good friend, Kash Saba. So this is Databricks based, but when people work in Databricks, they concentrate four things can cause performance issues in Spark: network and communication, disk reads and writes, your compute, and the query side. And usually everybody goes, give me more cowbell. And what that cowbell is, and you got to have more cowbell, and it's more compute, more memory, bigger Spark cluster, bigger everything. The bigger the better. But more sometimes that's not the right approach, right?
I wish I had a cowbell.
I see you nodding. You got to have that cowbell. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the right cowbell is optimizing your queries. And if you read this, you'll start to understand where you can what knobs you can twist, where you can make, trim a little fat off on your queries. What you have to watch out for basically on the queries is what's causing shuffling, what's moving data from one node to another behind in the Spark cluster. And there are certain queries, certain commands that are called, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. They're Y transformations. And Y transformations cause shuffling, slows down the query. Narrow transformations keeps everything on one node, speeds up your queries. Bam. 1 million rows now turned into 4 seconds instead of a minute. So obviously throw a little bit more cowbell with your, you're gonna tweak that knob of adding a little bit more firepower.
I need that cowbell, baby.
What was it?
I need that cowbell, baby.
Yeah. But don't forget, concentrate on the query. The cluster, moving those knobs on the cluster costs you money. The query isn't costing you money.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about that.
That's
Yeah, and it refers back to the good rule of thumb with any of these as we move, especially some of these long running data warehouses and analytics repositories that we've had over the years, moving to the larger ones, whether it be on Hadoop or Databricks in a data lake or Synapse in a SQL pool. The worst thing that can happen to us is, to Andres, to your point, is shuffling. Data movement, when we talk about Synapse, that is one of our biggest enemies in being able to, when we have to span across multiple workers, because the whole idea is you throw a lot of workers at a problem and they come back with a quick solution. But when you start spanning and moving data around and having to shuffle it around, yeah.
makes a difference.
Every day I'm shuffling. Sorry. All right. So I guess it's about time that we get to some of our reminders. So remember, I'm presenting at Dev Days over in Tampa.
Yep.
Let's see. Right over there. There's the URL right down there. You've still got time to go and get a ticket. We hope to see you there. Tuesday, Josh is the host. All right. Way to go, Josh. Bring it in the ringer. I can't fault you for that. Happy birthday this past week.
I am not shameless. I am not too shameless to bring in someone else to win for me. I will do it.
It's a good move. It's a good move.
Guns now.
Just watch your backs. That's what I'm saying.
So, Josh, I understand you have a special guest next Tuesday. Who is it that we have?
Do I have to tell?
Oh, you don't have to. We can keep it a secret. You want to keep it a secret?
Let's keep it a secret.
Well, I was going to advertise it, but okay.
Okay, fine. Advertise it. That's fine.
Okay. We can advertise it. So, so that'll be in the announcements, but you're going to have to wait till next week to find out who the special guest is, because I'm not advertising until we get then, right? This is another reminder, Live 360, 5 weeks away. The Past Summit, 5 weeks away. And there is a SQL Migrations Tales from the Field, a special video episode that you can get of the four of us talking about SQL migrations for the Past Summit. Don't forget that. And then we've got 2 great SQL Saturdays coming at you this Saturday. So go to SQLSaturday.com. Take a look at that. Gentlemen, anything else that you can think of that I missed?
You didn't miss it, but you got me to come around. Let's announce it. So the topic I want to do for next week.
Oh, no, don't. You can wait on the topic, but let's just say who it is.
Make me prepared.
So I actually was able to get onto the busy schedule of Karen Lopez. So Karen Lopez is a data platform MVP for Microsoft, long-running MVP, and she's just amazing. An awesome resource to talk to, person to talk to. She's got, the creator of the Barbies, right? To get more girls interested in STEM.
Yeah.
They have more miles than probably us and Karen combined. Flying around, going to different places like shuttle launches when they were going, SpaceX launches. They've been in CERN at the Particle Collider, all kinds of cool places. But she's also just a well-known resource for anything data modeling and data platform.
Karen Lopez is amazing. And also, guess where Karen Lopez is going to be in November? Live 360. Absolutely. She's
right there. At the beautiful Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort on the premises of the always beautiful, always lovely Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida.
That's right. Check out our pre-con with Buckwitty.
You're going to get
going for that free room.
You're going to get a marketing job up there. I'm sure of that.
That sounds good to me. Well, all right, gentlemen, that's it. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Tuesday. Thank you, everyone.
See you, everybody.
You grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes